Music doesn't define who I am. What I do doesn't define who I am. Who I am defines what I do. And who I am is I am a human being that has been literally rescued and has been brought back from a place of desperation, which is exactly the opposite of hope. Hope, I believe, is an expectation of something that can be fulfilled. And hope for me is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the hope of not only humanity, of myself, and everything concerning hope. In my case, hope allows me to keep smiling in this life, to keep grabbing life by the horns, and to really to expect for a reality that will be a continued but elevated nth in another dimension. Hope for me is the expectation of an absolutely extraordinary thing to come. Hi, I'm Pedro Eustache, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
I think that works. Can you hear me?
Cool. Many times when we have that, yeah, I can hear you perfectly clear.
Great.
Many times when we the video camera, sometimes that you know what? I'm gonna put this thing in airplane mode so that the least things connected to the internet, the better.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing here.
Excellent. So here we are. Let me know when the time is over. I can also put a limit here on 45 minutes, whatever.
Oh man,
I'm pretty good.
I'll be faster than that. I know you're busy. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Good.
I just can't appreciate. I can't thank you enough. Thanks for the time. You've obviously got a lot on your plate.
No. It's good. The only thing with me would be more than anything the mental thing because of all the traveling and whatnot. So jet lag catches up with me a little bit. So besides that, I'm pretty good.
All right. Well, let me give you the rundown on how this works. So you probably got the Interview 101. It's the document with the 5 questions about hope that we ask each guest. Great.
Correct.
So if you have,
I didn't open it today, but
you've seen it, then good. If you have that on hand, then you're good to go. So I follow that document pretty close. And if you don't have it on hand, no big deal. There's 5 questions about hope, and man, this is about you, not about me. So this right here is the most I'm going to be talking. And you can answer them however you want. It's about the definition of hope.
I just opened it.
Cool.
So
I'll start there with your little bit of an intro for you, and then you can tell us about yourself, and then I'll roll through the questions, and I'll just guide you straight through it, and we'll knock it out. This is really about you, though, not anybody else. So
okay.
I'll let you rock and roll. So make sure I get your last name. It's Pedro. Is it Eustache? How do you say it?
Yeah, Eustache, because it's like mustache with an E at the beginning. Eustache.
Eustache.
Eustache. Okay. It's a French name. So in French, it's Eustache. It's like the Eustachian tube.
Okay.
It's Eustache. In Spanish, we say Eustache, but in English, it's Eustache, like mustache, but with an E. Eustache.
Great. So let's roll in here and have some fun. So Pedro Eustache, is it? I mean, let me say it again before I start the intro. Eustache. Eustache. Just Eustache. Eustache.
It's okay. Any way you do it is good. I'm okay with
no, I'm gonna nail it. Eustache. Is that the way you'd say it?
That's perfect. That's good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Excellent.
So Pedro Eustache.
No. You're.
Well, I want to make sure that you like it. So if you're happy, I'm happy, sir.
No, it is. That is perfect.
Okay.
That is perfect.
Pedro Eustache is sharing hope with us today. So Pedro, I'm just a curious little 3-year-old in my head, and there's so many questions I have for you because of what you do for a living. So those listening along with me, Pedro is one of the world's premier flute players and woodwind players. So this guy has a collection of over 600 instruments. That's what Wikipedia says. I'm sure it's more by now. Venezuelan born, played all over the world, has so much experience with orchestras worldwide. People pull him in to do what he does. So he's a musician, but he also has a unique background and a connection to this subject of hope. And he's been generous enough with us, with his travel schedule and everything else, to share 30 minutes with us and tell us about his view of hope. So before we jump in there, Pedro, just where are you today? What are you doing? What's the past week been like? What's going on in your world?
Oh my goodness! Thanks for the first of all, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity to share over something so incredibly crucial, important like this. Um, really, it's my privilege to be able to be in this project, and thanks for allowing me the opportunity to share. I am home. I am in the Los Angeles area, north of that city called Castaic. Um, I'm still a little bit dizzy because I'm jet lagged. I was recording today all morning for a TV series called American Odyssey with John Debney, who's the same composer of The Passion of the Christ, with whom I played for the sound score of that incredibly powerful and historical, iconic movie, Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. I had the privilege to be the main woodwinds instrumentalist in that soundtrack. And last few weeks have been really something of a blur to me. I just got back a few days ago from near Monaco. I was in what is called Côte d'Azur, which is in a beautiful city in between Nice and Monaco called Beaulieu-sur-Mer. And before that, I was for a week out in Marrakesh, Morocco, after being one night in Madrid, Spain. After that week, I was another week in Beirut, Lebanon, for 2 concerts. And after that, I was back in Madrid for a series of things I'm doing with my new direction, which is Woodwinds, or the World Woodwinds in Electronics, which I'm calling Globaltronics. And of that, I was 5 days in town, and I did recordings for video games and whatnot. Right before that, I was in Reunion Island, which is in the Indian Ocean, right across Madagascar, 11 hours flight from Paris. 2 days before that, I was in Montreal, Canada. And before that, I was for 2 weeks in Spain doing the Symphony of the Passion of the Christ, the Cordoba Cathedral, which is inside the mosque in Cordoba, with the Cordoba Symphony Orchestra and a huge choir, CDAB choir, plus 100 voices. And having also an electronics concert with this Pedros Globaltronics new direction I'm taking in a huge theater in Madrid, in Spain. So this has been these last weeks, which is kind of a lot of activity, but God's blessing. So as a working musician, I'm not complaining.
That's incredible. I'm sleepy just thinking about that. I've got a million more questions because the video games and the movie scores. Wow, that's fun. But I'm gonna hold off. I'll wait till later. Let's get to question one. So, Pedro, you know how this works. We ask each one of our guests. We have 1,000 guests that we're interviewing from all over the world, from all walks of life. Each one of the guests, these same 5 questions about hope. So, question one, in your words, your definition, your favorite quote about hope, anything like that. What is your belief about hope?
This is very difficult, Chris. I might say that hope is literally the reason why I am alive. I don't want to sound dramatic or over the top or any of that. I'm very direct. I'm very factual. I'm very what you see is what you get. I'm like a New Yorker. I'm a very straight shooter. I speak my mind. I'm not very shy. And I'm very flagrant and very frank. And that is the reality with me. Hope, I believe, is an expectation of something that can be fulfilled. Now, for me, literally, hope is a reality is name and last name. And hope for me is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the hope of not only humanity, of myself, and everything concerning hope in my case, in my life's experience, which is very heavy, comes from there. If I didn't hope, Chris, I don't know if I'll be talking to you right now. I'm straight with you. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but it's the truth. And hope allows me to keep smiling in this life, to keep grabbing life by the horns, like we say, and to really to expect for a reality that will be a continuum but elevated to the nth in another dimension. Hope for me is the expectation of an absolutely extraordinary thing to come.
Wow, that's a powerful, powerful definition. Great answer. So, piggybacking on that answer, your definition of hoping for things to come and things that can be fulfilled, and you even referenced your connection to Jesus Christ. So in any of those directions, who has shared the most hope with you? Is there any one single person or a group of people even who've really delivered that to you in a powerful way?
Too many to mention, Chris. But it all started in my own family. But I want to make something very clear from the onset. I don't sound like a religious bigot or like a fanatic or something. Not at all. You just heard me mention incredible countries. I had the powerful, incredible, extraordinary honor, privilege to not only do two concerts in Lebanon, in Beirut, with Michel Fadel, a fantastic artist, pianist, soloist, and producer, but I also had, piggybacking on that, the opportunity to share in a church in Beirut. And I had the privilege to tell them there in the Middle East why, as an even global citizen, as a world traveler, as somebody who experiences many different cultures in countries and traditions and points of views and convictions and philosophies and belief systems, why was it that I believed that only the cross was the way? And I had the great opportunity of impacting somebody, I believe, to make a decision for Christ. My point is, as a musician that I am, music doesn't define who I am. What I do doesn't define who I am. Who I am defines what I do. And who I am is I am a human being that has been literally rescued and has been brought back from a place of desperation, which is exactly the opposite of hope. Somebody that has been taken from a place of hope, hopelessness, into my reality now. And as a consequence of that, springs forth from my heart, from my soul, from my mind, from my breath, from my fingers, an expression that is nothing less than gratitude and recognition to the one that gives me hope. So again, it's not that I'm trying to insult people's intelligence by trying to sell ideology or trying to proselytize. No, not at all. I respect all belief systems. I love my friends who not necessarily share my conviction. But my point is, I'm not trying to sell ideology. I'm not trying to fanatic again. I'm literally an artist who speaks out of his own experience. And my experience is that the music I do is a consequence of the connection, the vertical connection I have with the Creator through the cross, who is the one that gives sense and direction to my life. So based on that, I haven't mentioned one person that physically has instilled this in me more than anything, but I would say that one of the first huge influences in my life concerning this has been my family. I come from an incredible family. My parents were born and raised in Haiti, a beautiful little island, very poor island in the Caribbean, and they immigrated to Venezuela 70 years ago or something like that. And that's why I was born and raised in Venezuela. But um, there were people who feared God. There were people who were godly people. Um, and I'm the sixth of seven siblings. There's six boys and one girl, and I'm number six. And all of us saw in them their reality of something that reflected what we're talking about, that reflected the power of hope.
You know, that's a great story of your faith and the respect for others. I totally agree with you on that, and just the connection that your parents and a few others around you have, and so many others I know you've said, but in particular your parents, just a rich heritage. You sound like you have people who've really loved you behind you. That's really great.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. And my brothers, and I've had amazing pastors and people who has affected me, and people who are not even pastors. You know, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, they have affected me. Johann Sebastian Bach. There are people that tremendously have affected me concerning the reality of hope.
Great. Well, question three then. You've referenced a little bit of maybe what's gone on back there in your past, and you've accepted this interview. You know, everybody accepts these interviews for different reasons. It's fascinating to me who says yes, but why is always my question. Why do you have a connection to hope? And you've expressed a little bit of that, but tell us with question three, what's that time? Take us back and paint that picture for us of what was going on when you really were down and out and you had to have some hope to get through. Because there's a lot of people listening, and I've been there and you've been there, where we may be at a place where it doesn't seem like there's a chance and it's not going to work for
That
us.
is true. That is true. And in fact, Chris, thanks for the question. Again, this is something so fundamental. This is something so relevant. This is something so life defying. My own life experience. That again, I will not get tired of sharing this because people that are going through stuff need to hear that there is hope. I remember a movie, it's Shawshank Redemption, in which one of the guys told another one, hope was a dangerous thing. And I disagree with him. I think, no, I believe hope it's an amazing, extraordinary, life giving thing. And what you're talking about, Chris, is the loss of our daughter. 27 years ago, going to 28, we lost a beautiful little 3 years and 9 months, beautiful little daughter. She went to eternity in our arms in Valencia, California, 26 days after my wife, Sarah, Sara, we set foot in America in a strange land, basically with no support systems. We were literally coming into a new reality, into a new culture, into a new place, geographically, culturally. Um, and she gets called to eternity 26 days after she walked in this beautiful, blessed land. And Chris, listen, this is why I tell people that this is the reason why I can say the cross is the way. Please hear me out in this. This is incredibly intertwined with hope. I will explain. I don't know if you're a father, but anybody that is a father or a mother knows what I'm going to say right now. When you have a kid, that kid is worth more than your own life. The mama bear is the most dangerous thing you can face in a forest, even if you are a grizzly who are 2 or 3 times bigger than her, because she will do anything to defend her cubs. a father convinced me at my logical, reasoning, thinking state that only the cross was the way. Because, Chris, what I went through with my beautiful little daughter, what my wife went through with her, we told God, please take us. We've lived already. She's only 3 years. Please let us take her place. A father will do anything to defend his kid, his daughter, his son, from any harm. Father is willing to kill, to protect, and to rescue or to guard from any harm his kid or her kid. So the fact for me, I went through what I went through. She died of brain cancer. 3 years, 9 months. How do you deal with that? That doesn't make any sense. We live in a fallen creation. I'm completely convinced of that. But even in this fallen creation, there's an order to things. Kids are supposed to bury us, not the other way around. So even that is like, and then my faith got challenged, and my convictions got challenged. Nothing made sense. Then, the incredible, paramount, undescribable, powerful reality of hope came. And I'm here to say that I'm alive because of that. If I didn't have the hope to see my daughter again, I don't know if I'll be talking with you, Chris. Because I was this short of committing suicide. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but that is the truth. So coming back to this thing, having gone through this, I realized that if I was willing to do anything to spare pain from death, from anything, I could have never imagined the perfect Father, God the Father, allowing his Son to go through the cross if there would be any other way for humanity to connect with him. God the Father would have said, Son, no. He would have protected the Son, because any father would do that, Chris. Any father would do anything to protect his son from, or his daughter, any harm. He would say reincarnation works. He would say submission to God, like they say in Islam, would work. They would say tantric Buddhism or self-realization, or like my great, fantastic veneered master Ravi Shankar, he would believe, he did believe that through music he could get saved. If that would have worked, the Father would have said, Son, any of those things work. You don't have to go through the cross, because a father, Chris, would do that. The fact that his Son had to go through that tells me that there was no other way. And the reality of hope that keeps me alive every single day since more than 27 years ago that my daughter died, that our beautiful little daughter died, compels me at a reasoning, at a logical place, to understand that God's love is so amazing. He allowed his Son to take my place in order to empower me to have the reality of hope and experience an eternity of incredible meaning and purpose.
Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
God bless you.
You've come a long way. So
I hope this makes sense.
I hope
this makes sense.
It makes lots of sense, Pedro. It really does. So, question 4: you've come through a lot of dark days, and you've come out with hope. And what are you doing with it now? How are you sharing hope today? How are you taking that forward? It's helped you. How are you sharing with others?
Literally, Chris, I cannot stop I cannot compartmentalize. I cannot separate myself from who I am. It's funny. I'm covering many things here, but your questions are fantastic, and I thank you again for the opportunity. This is golden opportunity to share. Really, really, this is important. There's a lot of stupid things in the world and a lot of negativity. It's wonderful that we can share this. It's important that we can share this. I cannot stop being who I am. Many times I'm asked, well, how do you manage your secular activities, playing secular music, from playing holy or sanctified? Or I go like, what are you talking about? I am who I am. I woke up every morning. I'm the same guy who went to bed last night. I am a person who follows Christ 24/7. Even when I fail, I'm a failed follower of Christ. He comes and rescues me. So I don't see anything I do, Chris, as secular, because secular means the absence of spirituality. I cannot have that taken away from the reality of my life. Like I said this morning, I was playing in a studio in Pasadena for a series, American Odyssey, with John Debney. Every note I play for the Creator. The greatest musician of all history, my hero concerning music, is J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. He said that music existed with a double purpose. It existed to glorify God and to submit the human soul, elevate the human soul. And Chris, out of being rescued from a place of hopelessness and living a life of hope, my expression this morning was an expression of gratitude, an expression of reconnaissance, recognition, an expression of literally ascribing worth. You can call it worship. The one with capital O that rescued me from the horrible, dark hole of nothingness, which is hopelessness, because you have nothing when you're hopeless, to a place of incredible purpose. And what I do is, in every note I play, I share hope. In every word that I try to convey hope. There's a great thinker, I believe it was St. Francis of Assisi, that said, preach the gospel at all time, and if necessary, use words, or something to that effect. And that's my life. You know, far from being perfect. God knows I'm not perfect. I'm perfectible, though. And hopefully today I'm less bad than yesterday, allowing him to do his thing through me in spite of me. I always say that I have a PhD in spite ofness. what I do is true. And what I do, again, I have many shortcomings. I have many weaknesses, but I also have some assets. Some of my talents and my gifting and my assets, one of them is to share, to encourage people. Because I don't enjoy when people are belittled or they're, without, I've suffered a lot of that in my life, and discrimination is a reality in many places in the world, including America, unfortunately. Yet I enjoy very much encouraging people, and nothing can encourage better people than something that is based in hope. Because literally, again, Chris, if we live our lives without, we can hope for many things, but things may not happen. Something I didn't say in the beginning, which is incredibly important, faith and hope for me in my life go very, very together. And my definition of faith, we know it, is literally the conviction of that I don't see, the complete certainty of things to come. And for me, that is very, very, very close to hope. Some people hope, like the saying goes, you know, we hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That doesn't mean that the good thing you're expecting will happen. Heck, in this case, if I didn't have the certainty that my hope is real, I would not be alive. And listen, Chris, I cannot fake this. There is no religious nothing that my a parent or a culture or a tradition could instill in me that would have had the power to stop me from committing suicide when I had that impulse. And my wife as well, for that matter. We both had it. And to be able to come from that, by the way, she was the only girl we had. We didn't have other kids. She was the only one. So in that, I connect with God as well, keeping obviously the proportions. I know God understands me because I know his heart also. I know how it feels to lose a son, in our case, a daughter. And that's why it makes it so much more precious. I do not understand God's love. I really don't. It's beyond my comprehension. But yet it is there. And the hope to accomplish in this life the purpose for which I was created before the foundation of the universe, and to keep developing that in eternity is something that for me has no price. Yes. So I try to express and I try to share this in everything I do.
Wow. Awesome. So people like me, who I'm not on stage all the time, I don't have a huge following, and I don't know who else is listening, but there are people today, as I said, there are 36 countries listening to this, and most of us are probably just regular folks. How do I start growing or sharing hope? Either way, how do I start growing personally, or how do I start sharing it? Just some simple ABCs. What do I do to begin?
Well, I don't think there are formulas in life. I don't think life is formulaic. But if I can share something, I will go from something very rational, very reasonable. I'm a very logical person. I'm very heavy into C.S. Lewis, by the way, and people like Ravi Zacharias and people like Pastor Jack Hayford. They're big influences in my life now. First, Chris, we cannot share that we don't have. For us to share hope, we have to have it. And that is not something that you go to a supermarket and you buy it. You cannot go to Walmart and buy hope. I would suggest very strongly people who live without hope to go get some. And by that I mean literally go read, for example, the 3rd chapter of John in a book called the Bible. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a that. But I'm a human being that was blessed by that, who I consider is the heart of that love letter God wrote to humanity. And really, really dig into that. Dig into that. Number 2, once you have opened your heart and hope has entered your heart, because the reality is that without God's love, we're literally heading 200 miles an hour to a place of hopelessness. When you accept God's love, you have hope. You have turned. You made a 180 degrees turn. Now you're going to a place of significance, a place of direction, a place full of purpose. Not an easy journey, but you're heading on a wonderful direction. What I would recommend after that is to grow in hope. I would mean as a human being to grow in the significance of what that hope means. How does that translate? How does that manifest itself or himself? I defined hope at the beginning of this interview with name and last name. Jesus Christ, the Son of God. For me, is a daily blessing to try to know him better. The more I know him, the more hope I have. The stronger, the deeper my hope becomes, the clearer my eyesight becomes, my perspective in life. And number 3, once you have acquired hope and you try to grow on that daily, number three, apply it, enjoy it, share it. Those are the ABCs I would probably come up with. And all of this, Chris, I'm telling you, I didn't think about this. It just came to me right now as I'm talking with you, literally.
Okay, so let me see if I can summarize. So you're saying if you don't have hope, first go and get some. I love the way you're saying that. And you're referencing John 3, a book called John in the Bible, chapter 3. And then
Correct.
once you understand that, you're saying grow in hope, meaning continue to develop that hope. And in the reference you're using in Christianity or in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And then number 3, you said grow in applying it, I think, but you actually said the word enjoy it.
Share, apply it, and share it.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard anybody say enjoy hope yet in these interviews, and that's a really interesting word.
If I did, that is my joy, Chris. That is my joy. And let me clarify something, please. This is really important.
Sure. Yeah.
When I began this, I didn't say I'm a Christian. I said I'm a follower of Christ.
Good clarification.
Unfortunately, now times Christianity has connotations that, unfortunately, many times, sadly, I need to recognize, have very little to do with Christ. So I want to make sure people understand that I'm not talking about a religion. I'm talking about a relationship with God through the cross. There might be two completely different things.
Yeah. That's a good clarification.
So-called Christians, through history, have done horrible things. I have friends in Tunisia that told me, still they're telling me about the Crusaders. And he's right. They were wrong. But they didn't have anything to do with Christ. So I want to make sure people understand that I'm not trying. You see, in the Middle East, people think all the West is Christian. And in India, people think that everybody in India is Hindu. No. There are other realities. What I'm talking about, I cannot talk for anybody else. I'm talking about my own personal life experience. I'm talking about something which is so much more than any tradition, although I love traditions and I respect them, or any culture, or any geographical thing. It's not that, Christ is for Westerns. Heck, Jesus was not even a Westerner. He was a Palestinian Jew. Wrap your head around that one. And so he was a Middle Easterner. So I'm talking about something that is not geographically defined, or something that is a tradition, or something that culturally was stamped over me. No, I'm talking about something that changes lives. And it changed my life. And it defines who I am. So that's why I say, go get some joy, live it, enjoy it, and share it.
Awesome. So that's the end of the questions. And for anybody who's listening right now or reading this transcript in whatever language you're listening in or reading in, there's really no magic to how we pick these interviews, just so you know. I've mentioned this once or twice before, because sometimes people get offended by a certain brand of what seems to be religious commentary, or a lifestyle choice one way or another, or a political affiliation, whatever it may be. We are doing an interview with 1,000 people worldwide, and Pedro, we actually chose you because of your talent and your musical ability, and the fact that you were a Venezuelan American as well. So I had no idea where you'd go with this, but I love your story of hope. There is so much goodness there, and honestly, there's so much hope there. So where can we, if people are interested in knowing more about you as a person, your music, what you're involved in, your projects, where can we track you down?
Oh, very easy. You can Google my name, or you can go pedroflute.com, Pedroflute, one word, Pedro Flute, like flute in English, flute.com. And there are things in YouTube. If you put my name, again, Pedro Eustache, Eustache, T-H-E, Pedro Flute, many things come. And something I wanted to clarify real quick. Chris, thank you again for the privilege of being interviewed. I really count this as a great honor. Thank you. Thank you. Because there's meaning in this. You see, it's not only that you interview me and I've got a gazillion interviews because I'm an artist and I'm here and I'm there and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. This is beyond that. This is something that has meaning and has really purpose. And this is something that is akin to my own life, because I personally believe that all the things you mentioned and working with so many great artists, so many great projects, are simply things that the Creator has allowed in my life for me to have a platform so I can share these other most important things. And those things I do, I want people to understand that it's not my capacity. It is something I have been blessed with, that I develop. It is my duty, it is my privilege, and it is my blessing to every single day try to do something and to develop what I've been given. And I want openly to say that what I do as an expression is not to glorify myself. I don't get any credit for that. I want to give the credit to the Creator for any music that people will see me, if it's with Yanni or with a duet with Paul McCartney, or if it's the music I did in the Passion of the Christ, or Kung Fu Pandas, or the Rio 1 or 2, or Ice Age 1, 2, 3, 4, or Godzilla, or all those things. Or one is coming now is what is a World of Warcraft, all those things. What I do, it is a consequence of God's blessing in my life. And the music I have is a gift from God. So I give Him the recognition for anything that I do, which is good.
Awesome. Awesome. We will look you up. I'm going to spell your name one more time so people can get it. Pedro, thanks. You're just brilliant. Okay, so it's Pedroeustache. And if you Google that name or Pedro Flute, or look up on several of the major social media channels, we'll have all those links also at isharehope.com. And you can find out even more about the interview, full transcripts, and all of that stuff there. Okay, so Pedro, let me just interrupt the interview for a second. I need a couple of quotes from you. And by the way, brilliant communicator. I can't thank you enough. You're awesome.
God bless you. God bless you.
Okay.
My pleasure.
I need you to say your name and I share hope. So I would say, hi, I'm Chris Williams and I share hope. Or you can say, I'm Pedro. Your name. You can say your name and I'm a professional flute player, or I've played flute in all these movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on mute and you just go whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Hi, I'm Pedro Eustache and I share hope.
Perfect. Love that. Okay. So Pedro, just random questions from me, because I got this little 3-year-old brain in my head.
Oh, please.
You're doing the video game thing. You're playing the flute or woodwinds or whatever for video games. You mentioned one a minute ago. Which one was it?
Well, the one I've played for, I'm embarrassed to say, the horrible things like World of Warcraft and things like that. and Layered.
Why do they call you? You just you rattled off a ton of movies a minute ago. Why you?
Literally, what happened is a chain effect. When I was with Yanni for 11 years, that exposed me to. We did huge videos. Yanni did huge videos in Taj Mahal and things like that. Yeah. So that exposed me really big. And then they saw this. The movie guys saw it, and they started calling me. I've done things with John Williams, which is amazing. I did Munich. I did. Indiana Jones 4. I played for Warhorse with him. Spielberg was there and everything. So this is God's blessing. And I did Godzilla last year. And
really?
Now,
okay, so tell me, in a couple of these movies, point out like some of those big ones like Godzilla. Is there a place in a few of those where we can say, "Oh, you hear that? That's Pedro"?
Oh, you're kidding me? I'm gonna tell you the one worse, the Passion of the Christ. Well, there's one. I'm gonna go to the Passion of the Christ, but one that people can hear. I mean, literally all of Kung Fu Pandas, all the flutes. There's me, all of that.
Really?
Yeah, all of the
Cool.
stuff in How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah,
That's all in the Passion of the Christ. I will say woodwinds wise is me. Like, for example, that very scene on Gethsemane, which has to do with what I said in the beginning of Christ saying to his dad, "Dad, please, if there's another way." Literally, that is a flute I made, because I've made many of my instruments. I made like 100 instruments. It's a giant bamboo flute from India, which I harvested the bamboo from Hawaii, and I made the flute here at home at my garage, my workshop there. And that is a flute, a giant Indian flute called bansuri, which I call the King's bansuri, because the Lord gave me the idea how to do that. Normal bansuris have 6 or 7 holes. Mine has 15 holes. So I can have many, many more sounds than normal traditional bansuris, the flute from India. The thing is, that is a very precise scene, that cue with the blue moon on the Garden of Gethsemane. When Jesus comes to Pilate, there is the Zurna there. When Jesus comes to the Sanhedrin with the Pharisees, there is a saxophone I made with a horn from an antelope called oryx.
Really?
So I call it oryxophone.
A saxophone with an antelope horn played in the Passion of the Christ.
Yes, and that is when Jesus comes to, that's the sound of the Pharisees. And then, check this out, this is amazing. When Simon of Cyrene carries Jesus' cross, which is a very painful scene, there's this double beautiful instrument from Tunisia, which jokingly all the time John Debney calls it Philistines, because the sound is it's called the mezwed. And John Debney, the composer, said, "Pedro, bring the Philistines. We need the Philistines for this cue." Then I found out this will blow you away. This is amazing, Chris. God's serendipity is not serendipity. It's my serendipity. God knows everything. God doesn't act in serendipity. It's amazing. Then I was checking out. This thing comes from Tunisia. And I was checking out Simon of Cyrene. I was checking out where Cyrene was located. Guess where Cyrene was located? Dead center of North Africa, where Tunisia and Libya are today. Wow. So we were playing an instrument for the scene with Simon of Cyrene without knowing that I'm playing a horn that comes from the place where geographically Simon was coming from.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
So when you're doing a movie or a video game, are you and the other orchestra members, if you're there with others, are y'all watching the screen, or is it all done off clicks?
Many things. Many times I mostly play as a soloist. So today I have my screen in front of me. When I've done many things with Hans Zimmer, also he says I'm a good actor because I follow the scenes. But also when I play in orchestra, the screen is behind us, because the conductor is in front of us, and then there's this huge, giant screen behind us, which he has because he has to follow while he conducts the orchestra. So we cannot see the scenes because basically they're behind us. Mm-hmm. But when I am a soloist, which is the specialty thing I do, I'm like the specialist in the studios in Los Angeles for what they call world woodwinds or exotic winds or ethnic winds. Then yes, I have the screen with us. There's a Tutankhamun thing that will come these days as well, and like that. So yeah, we follow the screens.
Okay, last question. Well, man, I got like 20 more, but you got to go. Okay, so what's your favorite thing to listen to when you're putting in the earbuds, you're on the airplane, and you just need something to rock out to?
There's so many of them. I 2 weeks ago, Chris, I was a key speaker for a 3-day conference thing in Madrid called Madrid Music Days for DJs and producers and things. And I was sharing one of the conferences was fundamentals for DJs and electronic music producers and whatnot. And literally there I went from Mozart to the Prodigy to Gary Newman. And I had examples also from Ravi Shankar. I listened to Jimi Hendrix. I listened to Duke Ellington. I'm a madman for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I listen to Snarky Puppy. I listen to Bach. I'm a Mozart freak, and I listen to anything that has worth on it.
Worth.
I'm really an open listener, and God has a lot of beautiful thing in my mind. I don't know if it's my DNA is mixed because my dad was black, my mom was white. So that's why but the thing is, I tend to think laterally. I hear something here, then I can connect it with something that would not be normally connected with. And that refreshes me tremendously. And again, I'm very analytical, and I'm always going in math. There's a function which is really heavy called regression, which engineers, I'm told, use that when they do reverse engineering, which is to take a curve and try to figure out what function produced that curve. I tend to do that in music now. Analytical, I try to go back from what I'm listening that Mozart did and what is the idea that produced that result. In jazz, we call that to play conceptually, and which is to take a concept from where an idea came instead of just playing licks. We literally understand what was the concept, harmonically or other, that gave birth to this line that we liked. And that's why I listen to everything. I mean, I could not tell you literally what is the only thing I listen to. I listen to many things. And basically, with this I finish. I apply even a biblical principle to this, and this might freak out some Christians. I'm sorry, and I'm very open. I listen to everything, and I retain the good things.
That's great.
I mean, there are things of the Prodigy that has bad words. You know, I don't like that. There were things that a genius like Frank Zappa did. I didn't like his lyrics. I understood his comments and his commentary, but this guy was a brilliant genius. So I go and I listen to his music, and I get, you know, Jimi Hendrix music, although he was a person that was confused, you know, and deep into chemical dependency and whatnot. But my point is, I do what St. Paul says. I go, I study all things, and I keep the good things.
Love it. Man. Well, my friend, it is great to hear about you and your hope and to share it. Pedro, you've been a blessing.
My pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your evening and get some sleep. And,
I will.
All right, my friend. Have a good one. Thanks.
Keep me posted, Chris. Great honor to have met you, and my pleasure to have here with you today. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Be good. Bye-bye.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the Top 10 Actions of Hope from World Leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.